The Versus Admiral arc is here. Kinda. Yes, I am an Admiral fan. Some people would say, why? How can you still support those bums? Especially after everything that transpired with Sabo and Green Bull and Shanks, and the list goes on and on. However, I am still hopeful that we have an amazing Versus Admiral arc on the way. Not necessarily like the Versus Yonko saga. Maybe it's the Versus Admiral saga. I don't know. But I believe the Admirals will come into the forefront in the upcoming saga because they just have to. So, you may be wondering what I'm referencing. Well, the thing that I'm specifically talking about, we have to start with the last chapter. And in the last chapter, we find out about photonic gloves. Gloves that allow you to punch light. When it was revealed to us that we were in Egghead, I was happy, astonished, taken aback for several reasons. One is, well, we get to learn about the secrets of devil fruits and even more that we don't know yet. Two, I thought of the people connected to Vegapunk. And three, we get to see Sentomaru again. Okay, I'm be honest, I wasn't that excited to see Sentomaru again, but I just knew it was gonna happen at some point. So we get to have the debates again about whether or not Sentomaru is a boy or a girl, or maybe both. By process of elimination, I said, okay, maybe Kizaru will show up at this point because they all seem to be connected in some way. You guys cannot forget the video that I basically covered on Kizaru being Vegapunk. And even as crazy as it was, it has not been disproven. Back in the day, the whole thing that we talked about, and even when we tried to disprove the theory, wasn't mine by the way, I linked the theory below. The idea was, well, Kizaru can be multiple places at once. He's a Navy Admiral. If he is Vegapunk, how can he be working on some of the best inventions in the story and also be protecting the Celestial Dragdowns or even responding to the Celestial Dragdown 911 calls? It doesn't seem possible. Come to find out, Vegapunk is not just one person. Vegapunk is made up of 6 sentient beings that is somewhat connected to the stellar body. So the idea that Kizaru cannot be in multiple places at once, disproven, because Vegapunk technically can be in multiple places at once. So I'm not saying Kizaru is Vegapunk. However, it is very interesting that that is the case. And I know the pain theory has been floating around. I don't think each punk is comprised of the same things each pain was comprised of or what they represented, but somewhat a similar concept. Something I was questioning is when we see Shaka the Good talking to Lilith, Shaka seemed to be interpreting everything Lilith was, right? Everything Zoro was feeling and Robin was feeling. Shaka had to be somewhere close enough or some way they could feel the same energy, but Shaka was speaking like he was right there with Lilith. So how they actually communicate, of course they have the satellites, how deep it runs is something that's very important. Either way, let's talk about the Versus Admiral arc. The connection here that I'm making is because we're at Vegapunk's security detail is comprised of at least Sentomaru, and then Sentomaru's connection to Kizaru. This feels like the Punk Hazard arc. It's a winter island, there's going to be a scientist, there's going to be different creations, I assume gigantification will be covered, and I assume something will go awry. There's CP0 agents headed towards the island, and now instead of working against the scientists, it seems like we will work with them. Apparently at this moment. Rob Lucci, Stussy, and Kaku will not be enough to get this job done. They're unaware that the Straw Hats are on the island, right? But they were sent specifically to deal with Vegapunk and all the punks. They were not sent to deal with a Yonko and his crew. Now, once the world government is privy that Luffy is on Egghead, because they will be at some point, who do they send? Who is the appropriate person that will be perfect to somehow confront the Straw Hats? Now, like all you guys, I'm thinking, yeah, one admiral is not enough anymore. You can't just send an admiral and say, hey, take them all out. However, here's the caveat. You don't just have to send one admiral. You can send the admiral leading the forefront or leading the storm, but remember, we are very close to a Navy base. Smoker will be sent as well. Smoker, he's technically not an admiral, but he's a vice admiral, so I guess he counts. So Smoker will go there. Doll will go there. Some of the newer people will go to Egghead because Luffy is a major threat, and for the world government, they don't want the Straw Hats to somehow apprehend some of the valuables that are on Egghead because they plan to get rid of Vegapunk. So what happens? Of course, Smoker is mobilized and the others, but personally, I think Smoker is already on Egghead, if not very close to it. And then the others are mobilized as well. We get to see what Doll can do. And of course, I want to see a lot more of what Doll can do. But then even past that, Kizaru might be in the area. Say, oh, I was just around the area. I'll stop by. I haven't seen the Straw Hats in a long time. It'd be a perfect thing coming full circle because the last time you saw him, Kuma was involved. We can't forget what Kuma did after that interaction by protecting the Straw Hat ship for 2 years. It'd be a perfect way to culminate that story, especially with them overcoming Kizaru in Egghead. Oh my God. So you're probably asking, okay, so that's just Kizaru. How do we get to the other admirals? So Green Bull already had had his interaction, not with the Straw Hats directly, but with allies. So maybe they'll interact again at some point down the line. But I think his story is done for now. He just needs to sit down and just relax because, yeah, things didn't go well for him. Next, let's talk about Aokiji for a little bit and where that may go. Well, Aokiji's in Whole Cake Island, and the things that Aokiji is doing, again, speculating that this is him, it does not seem becoming of someone like that. However, in his position, what he's trying to do, he has to show face. He has to show that he is 100% committed to the Blackbeard Pirates because they were already questioning him all the way back in Dressrosa. You guys remember that? When he said, well, I don't trust him anyway, Blackbeard said that. So Aokiji going through and running an errand, if you can say that, for Blackbeard. Yes, he's quote unquote freezing civilians, but he can freeze them just enough so that they don't die. And that's what I think is happening here. So his purpose, I think, is to go and get the poneglyph and maybe pudding. Then what next? Well, we can't forget where the locations of the other poneglyphs are. Not only are they in Zou, but also in Wano. So here's the thing. I predict that the Straw Hats at some point interact with Aokiji, and they probably ask him the same question. And where the Straw Hats are, that vicinity, we're not sure how close everything is, right? But it's in the same vicinity. Wano, Egghead, Elbaf, Hashinosu, and even Sphinx. I think Aokiji at some point will make his way to the Straw Hats, and we will have an interaction once again. And I think more will be revealed about his purpose and his plan, and maybe we get his true intentions. The Fujitora one is very difficult because I don't think he's necessarily an enemy, because he understands more than most people the value the Straw Hats bring, because he saw it firsthand, how much they're able to impact the country for the better. So a lot of people speculate that Zou will be fighting Fujitora as one of his final battles because of the purple Enma and then the purple and green. There's so many deep theories out there. I think they will interact and have a quick spar, but I don't think Fujitora is necessarily trying to throw them off their path, even though Akainu told him he cannot come back to a naval base until they have been apprehended. That didn't matter because he went back to marry Jawa. Is he still on that path? The last time we saw Fujitora, he was headed somewhere. He had some bandages. Where is that place that he's heading? Maybe he's the one that's being sent to Egghead. But also, we cannot forget about the Seraphim. One thing I'm not sure about is whether the Seraphim will be allies or enemies in Egghead. I think the best case scenario is to make some of them allies and some of them enemies. But the particular one I'm talking about is Kuma. This Kuma is a problem child for whatever reason. And so what makes the most sense here? Rob Lucci and the others already seem overmatched. Like they should not be on this island with this Yonko. Having this Seraphim turn on them as well, I guess that would play into my theory about Admiral showing up and helping them, but I don't know. I don't know what the hell happens with the Seraphim. Either way, I think Oda's going to try to build up the threat at the end of the story. And of course, the Admirals are involved in that threat. But more than anything, the time might be nigh for us to see the Straw Hats interact again with an Admiral or Admiral caliber character that they've interacted with in the past. Green Bull is a newcomer, way in over his head, with really no couth and just no understanding of what the Straw Hats have accomplished. So his arrogance led to his defeat or his embarrassment. I really strongly think we see Kizaru again, and Aokiji for that matter, and I think those paths will collide. Now, will Kizaru ever fight Aokiji? I don't think so. That's something that would hurt my heart because I do enjoy those characters, and of course them being at one point colleagues, that would be difficult. Who do I got? I mean, of course I got Aokiji. I think Aokiji's stronger than Kizaru, but man, that would be so hype, wouldn't it? Oda would not focus on that for too long, but maybe an interaction would be great. And for both of them, even if Aokiji's undercover, they can't hold back. So I think just out of necessity, they have to avoid each other. You heard it here, guys. With the mention of the photonic gloves, I think it would make the most sense for a light man to go to the island, and for someone, of course, not Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, or even Jinbei, people that use haki, someone that doesn't use haki could land a blow on Kizaru, and that person, more than likely, in my opinion, would be Frankie. I think the photonic gloves tells us a bit about what Vegapunk is trying to accomplish, and that may be a separate video on its own because it is so clear the path that Vegapunk is on, and it is scary, right? We'll talk about it. I promise we'll talk about it. But guys, give me your thoughts. How do you think the Admirals are incorporated into this upcoming saga? How many do we meet here in Egghead? I think it's perfect that Oda is introducing, in my opinion, Aokiji into the cover story because at some point they will clash into the main story. And when do we see Fujitora again? Because he's headed somewhere and it wasn't to Amazon Lily. Where was he headed? Does he know? Okay, give me your thoughts. Make sure you like the video if you did. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Follow me on Twitter at BragoDAce. Follow me on Instagram, Brago.ace. Thank you to my patrons. I appreciate you guys all so much. Again, guys, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
Okay, I start doubting me, I felt lost.